I'm Christopher Willis, and I wrote the music to Armando Iannucci's political satire, The Death of Stalin. I first met Armando Iannucci on the HBO sitcom Veep. Armando was the showrunner on the show, and I was writing music. Armando and I met up around the time that he was leaving the show, but actually mostly we talked about classical music. Armando writes about classical music, and I have very much a classical background. And he also told me about his next film, chronicling the chaos that ensued in the 1950s following the death of Russia's infamous tyrant. He said, basically, I'm thinking that the score should sound like we resurrected the Soviet Union's finest composer from the dead. And I said, fine, inwardly thinking, that actually sounds quite difficult. So the first thing that I did was to actually go off and study that music. Weinberg, Mosolov, Shostakovich. I discovered that there was a house style in the Soviet Union. There were multiple composers who were writing in a broadly similar way. Let's imagine there was one more composer in that group. What would that composer sound like? Had the score actually been quotations from Soviet composers, then it would have been very difficult for the score to really tell the story in a powerful way. Whereas with it all being written by me, it's very closely tied to the story. So at the start of the film, things are very organized. Towards the end of the film, things in the story have really got out of control. It's really, really satisfying to convey that with the music.
Don't worry, nobody's going to get killed, I promise you.
We recorded the score at Galaxy Studios in Belgium. I asked the production company for a huge orchestra, which is very much what the Soviets were doing. And to my delight and amazement, they said yes. So we had an 80-piece orchestra, which is very, very big for a movie, listening to a lot of Russian recordings and thinking about the sort of cavernous spaces that they were recorded in. I mixed the movie with Satoshi Noguchi to actually hide all the evidence that it was a film score, sort of darkening the sound and creating the illusion of a big, big concert hall. I did work for a long time on getting the sound right, and I've been approached by quite a lot of people who've seen the film, who are classical music enthusiasts who have thought all the way through the film that they were listening to some kind of Russian music that they actually didn't know, and then have found at the end that it was by this guy they'd never heard of, called Christopher Willis, who clearly isn't Russian. And that's delightful. You know, I hear that and I think, yes, I won.